may or may not make it. He did not sleep very well last night or something. So I believe he is quote unquote power napping, but he may not have woken up from his power nap. So it may be nap to much longer sleep.
It's always the danger of the power nap.
If it's too powerful.
Yeah.
When do you usually kick these off, Emily? Should we wait for more people? Should we just get started because everyone's
I
just
feel like it's such a
slide
cop
here?
out to ask me. Weren't you like facilitating these for 3 months last, God?
Yeah,
I don't like have an answer to this question.
I waited a long time, but I don't know if you're setting new precedents of starting us much earlier.
I do kind of want to whip everyone into shape, but you can't do that if they're not here. So, like, I'm tired of starting everything 7 minutes late.
You can just shame them when they enter explicitly. Every quarantine person who's late, you just shame them the moment.
Like, we've been creeping. Like, at first it was 3 and then it was 5. Once we pass 5, I feel like you're into, like, you can't even pretend that that's normal for a 30-minute meeting. Yeah. Everyone arrives just on time for the 5, though, because I feel like they're planning around the people who arrive at 7, right? It's like a downward spiral of lateness.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I think we should get started because it's 5 past and we're always late except when Emily runs it. But you're stuck with me today, so cool. I have not set up the agenda doc, but I'll do that now. Don't forget to sign in if you haven't. Should we, looks like Samurai clicked the starting YouTube, no new faces. Let's look at outstanding spec PRs. Cool. So starting at the bottom, I guess, release product descriptor O2. I see I have some, Javier had some open stuff and kind of just circling back around to it. To Stephen's point, this is already out there. So I think we should kind of get this out without a ton of other changes. But let me, I guess, resolve the 2 open things that Javier had, and then if I guess I would appreciate outside of that, are there other things core team is waiting on for this? I guess that and release notes. I guess I'll add to it explicitly. EK casing, yeah, okay. Rooming Legacy Bomb. I don't know if we want to discuss this at all, or this is just a thing we want to do. I know this kind of came out of the other PR that we merged.
I guess this has been hanging around now for a while. So the question is it hanging around because no one's reviewed it, or because there's outstanding objections. That's my kind of saying approve it. It's pretty simple, unless you have a overarching problem. It's just deleting stuff, so there's not a lot of copy editing to look at.
Just a lot of silence. Okay. Well, hopefully move to a lazy consensus where we'll just merge stuff in regardless.
You want to like name and shame people?
I'll let you do that, Emily. I know I still need to review it, or not review it, but there's some.
I'll do it. Steven, you should go approve this PR right now to remove the legacy bomb for platform 09.
Are we concerned that this is going to break people who don't want it to be broken?
No, it's only going to break new people. I mean, not only break new people. It's only going to affect new people opting in, and it will hopefully unbreak them by getting rid of large labels that are causing them pain. Some of the large labels.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I guess I just don't have a concept of how, when we remove stuff like this, like how widely adopted the bomb stuff was in the ecosystem. But like, I mean, I know selfishly on the kind of Salesforce Heroku side, we didn't implement it on the Heroku build packs. I know we've done a little bit of it on the Salesforce side, but it looks like we're on a path to move away from it as well. So
just taking it out of the label, right? Because label can take down platforms because it gets too big.
The other alternative would be to just take those files, store them on the image, which I think we already do, right? Like just not in the SBOM folder, but in a different place, the config, whatever thing that stores the bombs right now in the app image. Don't know if we just want to move that to the SBOM folder or just keep it where it is, but the data is not lost.
So I think this is just about taking this label that only has legacy SBOM anyways off, right? So this doesn't even affect new SBOMs. It only affects old SBOMs and whether they end up in a label, and it only affects new platforms opting into the new API. I feel like.
Well, I guess I would like to separate just in general as discussions of like build pack authors having control over what platform they run on, because I feel like that's not always true. But I mean, I'm fine removing it from the label. Yeah, I mean, I guess to Sam's kind of point, like, do we care or want to put it somewhere else if someone's still using it? But I don't know if that's like pedantic or if people would act like this actually affects people.
I think if we put it somewhere else, then we're in a situation where we can never get rid of it, right? There's got to be some cutoff.
I mean, but we can't get rid of it until we deprecate those build pack APIs. I'm not talking about putting it in the label. I'm just saying the output bomb that the build packs produce goes in that same directory structure we have for SBOMs, just in a .toml file rather than the config toml, which currently contains the merged. Or you can just move that merged toml at the top level of that SBOM folder, but just so that you do pack download SBOM, you get the full SBOM, even from the older build packs.
I guess it depends like how you think about it, right? So we added something such, I think, yeah, Natalie's right. We should put this on the agenda and not talk about it now. I can't help myself. I'm going to finish the sentence though, because we've gone so far down this route. it depends whether you're like waiting for the platform to remove it so that the build packs can remove it, or waiting for the build packs to remove it so the platform can remove it. I know for us, we're outputting both bombs so that we can support old platforms. But once all the platforms have rolled forward, our build packs will remove it. So our build packs are waiting for the platform to stop exposing it so that they can remove it, right?
I have comments on that, but I'll refrain from responding to you right now.
The process thing is like, it's been open for 20 days. It's pretty small. So like, if there is a problem, put a comment in the issue so we can talk about it. Because right now it's just sitting and it's not clear that anyone has objections.
Okay. Process specific working directory.
I think just waiting for
reviews.
Review. Maybe Emily, because you had feedback, you could just check that what I did fix things. And there's a
Go ahead, Natalie.
Oh, this one's for build pack. Sorry,
yeah, this is build packs.
Yeah, and then
but I think Natalie had feedback on both.
Yeah, it's the same story. Just I think it's updated, but please give feedback and if anything's unclear.
Cool. And these are blocking, I guess, spec releases that we want to do for 0.9 and 0.8. Image creation.
Yeah, this is an ask that came up in Slack. Should be a relatively small change to our API. The ability to set image created at time using this environment variable.
I did click into the Slack combo, and I know you asked if this should be a spec PR and RFC. I guess my one concern is like just how we can capture context for some of the stuff that is easily searchable in the future. But I can understand why you don't want to drag this through the RFC process.
I was hoping I don't know. I guess I'll hold off. If there's alignment, then yeah, it'd be good to get it done quickly.
Well, at minimum, I will add folks on here. Spec release planning.
I know that I'm guessing, Javier, you're going to have something to say about the project descriptor. Since we were just on the platform and the build pack APIs, I just want to point out the build pack 08, I think, has a couple of like enhancements to the spec, which do we want that to block the 08 release? How high priority are these terminology and build pack type section?
I think the one thing that's felt really high priority to me is that we bandy about this term meta build pack that doesn't have a formal meaning all the time. And I think, aside from any features, either clarifying what that means, that word, or assigning a different word to it, because meta build pack doesn't make sense, is a high priority thing. We don't have to block it, but I feel like this is the kind of thing that just causes consistent pain, and be nice to fix it.
I guess for the record, in GitHub, it's already been bumped one time.
Yeah. It's the kind of thing that never gets fixed unless we draw a line of where we're going to fix it.
Is someone volunteering to do this?
I feel like you're asking me if I'm volunteering, and I should say yes.
No, I'm not asking you explicitly.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm the one who feels strongly about it, so maybe I should be volunteering. It's just been very hard to get to this on the list of other things.
Do you want to take that on, Emily, or do you want to find someone to pawn it off to?
I can take it on. I'll take it on.
Can I assign you at least to figure out how to get someone to do it? Even if it's not
I'll either
yourself?
do it or I'll punt it, because I think I'm the one who's stopping us from punting it, right? I'll unblock this one way or another.
What about this terminology one?
That one feels less important than the specific subtype of terminology, which is what word
is that where the build pack stuff would go, though, where we define like meta build pack or not meta build pack or whatever it is? Would that not go into terminology?
I mean, that would be useful, and our other terminology would be useful in there too, right? But yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna leave this in for now unless you punt the other one.
Just say, it just occurred to me, with the Docker files, tracker work, and just thinking about adding extensions that we need to go in the build pack spec somewhere. Like, we might be doing some refactoring, I guess. Like, I don't know, I could see that occurring, and maybe that would be a very convenient time to also organize the spec so that regular build pack and meta build pack makes sense. We could add terminology now, and then the other stuff that you mentioned, Emily, like clarifying what goes with what could be expanded on later.
Yeah, if you think that would be a good time, I'd be happy to do that. I feel like a lot of times I think a lot of this came out of the stack pack conversation, where I feel like it was almost the opposite end of this, where like stack packs were originally sort of inserted into the spec with a bunch of like if statements throughout the build pack spec. Could be like, if it's a stack pack X, if it's a stack pack Y, like everywhere to make it technically correct, where it's like, that's kind of bad information architecture. But then I feel like these issues got created because there was feedback that we shouldn't be re-architecting the information as part of adding a whole bunch of new content. So I'm happy to do it either way, like either with the new content or separately. But I think these issues were created specifically in response to people objecting to doing that before.
I mean, I am happy if the terminology section does not have to be complete to kind of at least have a home for future things that can go into the stuff Natalie's talking about for the refactoring. Did you want to say anything on platform 09, Natalie? You were mentioning.
No, I think that when the PR is closed, that one will be done.
Okay. You also called that Javier explicitly for project descriptor.
I don't know.
I was gonna say, why did I get called out?
Are you putting him on the spot here?
I could be wrong. Sorry, I didn't. I just jumped in there with my stuff.
Okay. I merged the distribution 03 stuff, Javier, from Jamil.
Cool. Yeah, we have, as far as I know, we have other stuff that we want to throw in there before that release.
Cool. All right. I think that's it for release planning, unless someone else has something else. We can move on to RFCs. Did we want to go through all these today? I know Emily has been toying around with trying to prioritize and maybe do less of all this stuff. Or do you want me to just go from bottom up again?
I'd like to advocate for us not clicking on each of these from the bottom up and talking about it, because it's really painful. And I don't know if we're getting a lot out of it anymore, right?
I think by design, it's supposed to be painful for us to make it not painful. Like,
I think it used to be painful in a way that then spurred us into action. But these days, I don't see action coming out of the pain. I just see us suffering once a week.
Is there an alternative proposal to actually getting RFCs through and spec changes? Because, you know, I feel like we did this part and intentionally painful so that we could get some actions out of it. But if we're still not getting actions out of it, I feel like that was the core goal. Are there alternatives there?
There are some discussions that are happening, but they have not been implemented quite yet. The answer is yes.
Yes, TBD kind of thing.
Yes, TBD sooner rather than later, hopefully. But I don't think it will solve everything that is necessarily painful about RFCs. Well, I guess I'll just try to quickly go through each of these, and then hopefully this pain will spur us to move forward to either close or merge some of these things then. Go ahead, Sam.
I was just going to say I marked some of my RFCs that I'm not actively working on back to draft. I think like it's I don't have the bandwidth to continue working on those anymore, and I want to focus on the RFCs that I want. So I've marked the previous one as drafts for now, and I can pick them up again when I have the time.
Okay. Thank you, Sam. Support Docker files. I know the POC and stuff on this is coming along.
Am I supposed to do something here?
I know you blocked previously on us merging them, even though we have the votes to move this to FCP. I've been following along a little bit, but kind of what's this state of this RFC, Stephen?
That's a good question. I think I'm supposed to hit a bunch of buttons to make a bunch of changes that Natalie wanted. Is that right?
Yeah, or give feedback if I didn't capture it correctly. I think there's one, I mean, in my mind, most of the uncertainties have been resolved, but this conversation here about like the restrictions that we place on build Docker files, I think could use just a little more clarity.
Like you can't change the build time or build Docker files base image or something like that. They all have to be extensions on top of the same thing. That stuff. Yeah. Okay.
The only kind of other comment I would have is I know Joe has that spec PR open. Do we want to kind of roll that in and review that along with this to some degree?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I'm sure the spec PR needs work, but I think the bigger question that we can't answer is about the structure of it, you know. And really the structural changes it's introducing.
Okay. Are we planning to do those discussions async on that spec PR, or do we want to have more in sync time to talk about that?
Yeah, I'm fine doing them async. I just I kind of lost sight of where the whole project is at. I feel like I'm happy to do a lot of the work, but I feel like we need someone to kind of own it and drive it, and you know, keep eyes on where the POC is at and the RFC is at and the spec changes are at.
It might be valuable to have like, I don't know, maybe office hours or sometime when we just sort of share all of the work that's been done so far. So I think kind of going through the flow together could help organize that discussion about, all right, what still needs to be defined, like, I don't know, what questions do we still have, that kind of thing.
Do you want to own doing that for either this or next week's office hours, Natalie?
Yeah.
I think that would be good.
Okay.
Okay, I'll make a comment here then.
I'm merging some of your suggestions there, Natalie, for this one.
Even we're at time and we made it through one of these.
Yeah.
Should we call it quits on the rest? I don't know if we want to go a half hour over, which is what's going to happen if we do all of them.
Good job anyways. Thanks.
Do we have stuff for tomorrow?
I was gonna say, I think it's worth at least pointing out things we want to discuss tomorrow.
I think system build packs can merge, right?
I think it's got another week.
Really?
I don't know, not sure.
I guess to Javier's point, we should at least set agenda for tomorrow before we call it, even if we're not going to go through all the RFCs.
I mean, if anyone here has something they really want to put on the agenda, can we just put it there asynchronously, and then if there's too much, we can kick stuff off.
I think we'll find the opposite. I think we'll find nobody puts anything and then shows up, and then it's like, oh, like, what were we supposed to talk about?
If no one wants to talk about anything, I'm happy to cancel it, get some time back. It's like, I don't have to make an agenda just to have an agenda if no one wants to put anything on it.
Yeah, I was gonna see if Sam had a couple, because I know he mentioned earlier.
I think the only one that I'm focusing on right now is the cosine RFC, and I have to incorporate all the feedback we discussed in the last working group around moving it to pack and doing all of that. So at that point, I think it's also going to be a sub-team RFC. So hopefully should make things easier.
Cool. Then in that case, if there is nothing on the agenda, I would vote with Emily and say just cancel it.
Did we want to talk about the legacy SBOM stuff? The legacy bomb stuff, not SBOM.
Happy to talk about legacy SBOM stuff. Also, speaking of SBOM, I guess like there's this run image SBOM here.
What's happening with that? There's just some feedback that needs to be addressed that's blocking it from being merged. I don't know what's happening with that actually.
Can you open that one? Actually,
Anthony is not working on the patch anymore. Is that what you were telling me?
Yeah.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean we can't get this across the line. I think some of the feedback was yours, Sam, around what to do if it's the last layer.
Yeah.
I'm inclined to not add that as an enforcement and go ahead and approve it. But if we want to
I think
talk about that, we could do that tomorrow too.
Yeah. If we don't want to enforce that, then we can talk about it. If like, yeah.
Should we find a new person on this? We can talk about that tomorrow too.
Yeah, I don't mind taking this one because it relates closely to the Docker file stuff. So
Okay.
See.
Okay. I'm happy to call that with those two topics for tomorrow.
Sounds good.
See everyone tomorrow.